Yo, what is going on, YouTube? We're back with another video. This time, we're going to talk about Anthem. We've been playing the game for a few hours now, and I felt like kind of having a conversation, maybe like a first impressions kind of video. So today, it's not Roger. Don't worry, we're not doing another video with Roger. This time I got Keith with me. He's actually been playing the game for a little bit there, so go ahead and say what's up to the people, Keith.
Yo, it's young Keith, not
Yeah.
Raj. Raj is gone. It's my
Not gonna,
time to shine.
you're not gonna do your bag comment? Bags.
Nah, we're not in bags today. We're chilling today. We're chilling.
That's it. Yeah, so kind of today I wanted to talk about Anthem. The game's been out for, if you have Origin access, the game has been out for almost a week and a half now. It just came out on console on the 22nd, which is yesterday for us at the time of this recording. So we kind of felt like, we put enough time into the game, so we kind of wanted to give just our first impressions of the game. Not going to dive too much into it. So for those that don't know, Anthem is a game made by BioWare and EA. Essentially, you get to be a freelancer and you fly around in javelins. And of course, we'll talk about javelins and stuff like that. But the setting, Anthem is set in an unnamed planet littered with advanced technology that harness any omnipresence energy sources known as the Anthem creation. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about that. That's story mode. So if you want to get into the story, go right ahead. But yeah, we got some other kind of things to do. So Keith, what are your initial thoughts of the game, up to the point that you are? I'm sure you're probably about 10-15 hours into the game. So what do you think about the game at the moment?
Right now, I'm currently really enjoying it. I was up until roughly 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning playing, so that's a good sign in itself, that I'm having fun with the game. A few blemishes, but overall, it's given me a good first impression.
That's nice. Yeah, I played when Origin Access for the game came out, so I was on PC at first. Again, I still thought the PC controls as far as flying and swimming probably will take a little bit longer to get used to. It runs very smooth on console and PC. I haven't run into any kind of hiccups yet. That's really good. Some of the quality of life changes are good, I would say. The mission menu looks different compared to where it was at the beginning. Being able to sprint at Fort Tarsus, I don't know. You played the demo, right? So you remember not being able to sprint, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
Yeah, that was probably some of the good things that they kind of brought up from the demo. So have you run into anything that you kind of think is a bad thing about it yet?
Currently, the one thing that really sucks, and it happens, I'm not gonna say often, but it does happen, which is audio issues. Some of it I'm unsure if it's supposed to be that way. In certain missions, the audio just kind of has a bad static, and that just I wear headphones when I'm playing, so it just really hurts. Also, if you have several people cranking off high profile moves like your ultimates or any other high profile moves, if you have a lot of sound, it seems like it just gets real distorted and hurts really bad. I've heard several people say that they run into that issue. That's pretty much my one big drawback to everything, is that the audio has really bad balancing at times.
Yeah, I was gonna say, luckily there's no bug that was in the demo, and of course if you played Origin Access version of the game before the 21st, when they put out the first patch, where the game would just cut out all audio. But luckily that's gone. That was probably the worst thing ever, because once it cuts out that audio, you have to start over. You have to turn the game off and restart it. So but I have run into that issue as well, where the javelins are using too many specials or moves, and the game just kind of distorts and slows down a little bit. So outside of that, the game is fun. I would say it's like a Destiny Warframe combo. It does not have the gunplay of Destiny, more so the gunplay from Warframe. So if you kind of play the two, you can probably mix and match. So but yeah, so that kind of goes into the javelins. So what do you think about the javelins? The flying, so between the Ranger, Storm, Colossus, and Interceptor. What do you think about them?
As far as the flying goes, I really like it. I thought that the overheating system was brilliant in terms of, if this were to be a kind of real thing, that would be a real thing to worry about, venting out heat sinks. So I think that's really awesome, and that you can even spec into that is really amazing. The javelins themselves are actually pretty cool. The storm, of course, is the coolest that everyone seems to go for. However, I have seen drawbacks. So I was playing a mission, and a guy who was a storm, he probably went down like 2 or 3 times, and then I found out. I think the storms have the least amount of HP. I'm not sure if it's them or the
Yeah.
interceptors.
Nah,
But
I think the Storm has one of the least amounts, and I think the Interceptor is right behind that one.
right, so I've been playing Ranger primarily, but I have seen where, you know, okay, like the storms, they can deal out so much damage and do so much cool stuff, but they can't take aggro at all. Like if they take aggro, they're done for. So it's pretty cool. I think that those drawbacks, I've been loving the Ranger. The combo system is a little rough at first when you're trying to understand what combos with what. But I think when you really start to get into it and you're like, okay, this is what I do. I think the Storms have the best like time in terms of comboing.
Yeah,
The Ranger, you kind of got to play around a little bit to figure out, because the Inferno Grenade does not combo with anything. It's really, really random. You just kind of got to figure out, okay, what can I combo? Like, how do these combos work? And it's fun though. Like it doesn't feel frustrating. Like you're like, God, like what's going on? It's like, oh, okay, if I mix this with this, I get this combo, and you kind of learn like what moves you want to like combo into to get those XP bonuses.
yeah. So, as far as the javelins go, I mean, they're interesting. I do agree. They have their drawbacks. Each one has their good, the good to them, the bad to them. Again, I agree. I have seen a lot of storms lately, and that's probably just because they can do the combos a lot easier than anything else. Interceptor is probably the second one, and I'm not too sure about Colossus. I didn't play much of Colossus, but I did play some of Ranger. If I had to choose one, I would say between Interceptor and Ranger are probably the fun ones. If you want to kind of just be a flying person like a Warlock or a Wizard, Storm. If you want to be up in everybody's faces, Interceptor, and then Ranger, you can kind of do whatever one. So I think they're all good choices. They all have their drawbacks. They all have their things that are good about them. But that also kind of makes me want to go into the next one. So the combat of the game. So you spoke about combos. And then for those that don't know, when you play the game, there's certain combos that you can do. If you see a little circle next to an ability, they're called a primer. First you prime a target by using that ability against the enemy, and then you can detonate them, and the detonator looks like a little star thing. And when you use the detonator, essentially you'll see combo, and you'll hear the little ding sound, and it does a lot of damage. It brings your ultimate back faster, so it's definitely it makes the combat different than any other game at the moment. And you kind of already talked about combos, but what do you think about the rest of the combat, you know, between flying and fights, and then of course the gunplay and everything that you do on the ground as well?
I think it's really good and really different. We have a lot of things going on in terms of, you know, gunplay, guns with their own personal stats. You have, you know, your other, like your special, for instance, the Ranger has something called a bulwark sphere that they can put down. They also have like a muster point, and these things either A, put down a sphere of protection, no one can shoot inside of it, or B, you know, you can put out like a little a well, if you will, and that gives a buff to weapon damage. It's a lot going on that you can equip to your javelin and go into. So on the one side, it's like, yo, I could really spec my javelin out to be this type of combatant or this type of combatant. But about the combat specifically, the gunplay is not bad. It's pretty good in terms of just a third person shooter. They always feel a little different. So but not the worst third person shooter I've ever played at all. So the gunplay is not bad. I think where the game really shines is like you were talking about the combos and the primers and the detonators, and kind of learning what goes with what and how to synergize with your team. I have yet to run with a full team of 4, but you know, I've run with 2 or 3 people at once, and we've been able to talk and, oh, hold on, I'm gonna freeze this guy. Okay, you froze him. Now I'm gonna hit him with the impact grenade, and it's really nice to kind of make those, you know, little conversations about this, especially when you're fighting tough enemies, and there are some tough ones out there. So when you're, it really shines if you have a team and you guys are kind of talking and synergizing at the same time.
Yeah, I do agree with that. The combo system is definitely something new, it's unique. I'm sure there probably is another game out there that probably has a combo system, but probably not like this. Not to my knowledge. I haven't played a lot of games. I probably have that, but um, you know, you mentioned freeze, you mentioned like the synergy and everything. I think right now, I think freeze might need to be tweaked a little bit. It's like if you have somebody with freeze on your team, essentially you can cakewalk almost everything.
Hmm.
Everything is very I can't even think of the word right now. Everything can basically be frozen at some point in time, and that's
Right.
probably the biggest primer that a lot of people use. I'm sure there's probably a detonator for it as well, but the combat looks great. Gunplay is not really something I'm too interested in this game. I mean, I see a gun and I see it has stats, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Compared to like, you know, Destiny or any other kind of game that has probably a little bit better gunplay than this. So um, I wouldn't focus too much on that. Focus more on the combo system. The combo system is really interesting. It has a lot of things that you can do with it, and luckily there's a system that kind of points out what combos you should probably use, or at least how to combo. So if you don't know how to, I don't have a video on it. I'm sure there's a video out there somewhere. uh, I'm sure the person I can think of is probably Dado. He probably has a video out there. So if you want to know more about combos and primers, I say go check him out. I might have it in the description or something. I don't know. So yeah, so let's go into probably the next part here. So what are your issues with the game? Do you have any issues? Anything that's kind of big that sticks out to you that kind of you kind of like, this could kind of break the game, or something along those lines?
Currently I do not. However, I know some people who do have issues, so I will speak on their behalf, which is some people they are not big fans of the MMO elements that exist in this game. To specify, for instance, when you play Destiny, you don't have to deal with NPCs all that much. It's like, oh, okay, I come to the tower or to the traveler or the last city, wherever I'm at. I pick up my bounties. I go, I'm back on the forefront, doing that thing. In Anthem, you have a lot of, okay, like I ran a mission, now I need to come back. I'm gonna talk to this guy and he's gonna explain this, that, and the third. And some people don't like that. They really just want to be out and about in the world doing things.
Yep,
Whereas
chat simulator.
I really like that, and it's a Bioware game. So if you play Bioware based games, Mass Effect games, they really push that conversation. The one saving grace about this is that the voice actors do a really good job. So they give off a lot of personality. There are certain characters I like and dislike a lot currently, and that's just based off of the voice actors, and they give off a lot of personality. So on one hand, I know a lot of people they just want the action, they don't really care about talking to NPCs. On the other hand, I think this game is probably the best to do it in terms of having NPCs actually have personality, have, some format of connection to your character. Also, the fact that your character talks and you kind of choose the narrative also helps you just give a little more immersion into it. And also choosing certain dialogue will give you rep towards a certain faction, if it's Sentinel faction because you said this or whatever that may be. That's also really cool. So there is some format of reward of having conversations and doing that. There are also quests that are given by having these conversations. So yeah, it may be a little annoying when you come back to Fort Tarsus and you have 8, 9 conversations you need to go have. But in the end, they are worth it. You do get some format of compensation for it. And after those 8 or 9 conversations, you probably come away with like 4 missions to go run. So you do get to spend a lot of time out in the world before you have to come back.
Yeah, I akin it to a chat simulator. Essentially, you're constantly talking to a bunch of people. That can be either good or bad. Of course, it's world building, so I mean that is what it is. A lot of times you can probably build a world while you're playing the game, but to me, it's a chat simulator kind of game. Uh, Whether the story is good, to be honest, I have skipped probably a lot of it.
I do
Just because.
think that although skippable, it does help in terms of delivering the story. In Destiny, they used a grimoire to try to deliver a lot of the universe.
Yep.
In Division, they use those echoes and cell phones to try to deliver a lot of the universe. So at least in this, it's a real direct way of delivering a lot of what's going on, giving you that other information to help you kind of see the full picture. So I do
Yeah.
think they're trying to deliver it in a very direct way, right in game, and not forcing you to go and go through the codex. And although the codex is another way that they're delivering excess information, they are giving it to you straight up to a point where you don't have to go into your menus and read and figure these things out,
Yeah, I will say at least we're not going to another site to figure out what's going on in the game.
or having to watch a YouTube video to figure out what in the world is going on.
Exactly. Like that. It is good that it is in the game. It's definitely interesting. You can always go back and kind of read over what you're going through. It gives you something to look out for as far as making sure you find the collectible that kind of goes with the storyline. Um, so I mean, the game's fun. I do agree. It definitely is a chat simulator, and if you haven't played Monster Hunter, it has a Monster Hunter feel to where you go to a camp and only equip your stuff when you're in the main camp, and then when you go out in the world, it's whatever you had before you left. So I guess a lot.
Final Fantasy 14. Anyone who's played Final Fantasy 14, you've had to go and talk to many of people to figure out where you need to be and all that stuff. The one thing I will say that I wish was a thing, although difficult, would be that you could kind of like tell some people that you don't want to run their quest and whatnot, and that may open up another NPC saying, "Oh, you don't like that person? Well, cool. Like you can come run my quest and you'll get this great gun, whatever it may be, or skill or something like that." So I do wish that was a thing, because in Final Fantasy 14 there are people who you can kind of turn down, and another NPC who's like, "Oh, you turn that guy down? All right, well you can come over here and I'll give you the skill because I hate that guy." So I do wish that the conversation, although it's cool that you get to shape the narrative, it doesn't seem to impact a whole lot. It's just kind of you choosing how you want to talk to people. It doesn't seem that there's going to be some type of penalty or good consequence for saying certain things, which the Mass Effect games were kind of built on. So it kind of sucks that we know BioWare to do these things, that's not being furthered. But on the other hand, I know you're trying to give everyone the same opportunities. You don't want to give one person because they chose the wrong thing, that they don't get to get this god gun, and they're now mad because, oh man, like I didn't know and I just chose this, so I don't get the god gun anymore. So I know they're probably trying to balance that out as well, but it still sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll end up seeing exactly if, and they probably won't go that way. So I guess the last thing, kind of get at is, what do you expect going forward? So after you beat the game, of course there is some sort of in-game. Are you expecting a raid of some sort to drop? Of course, strongholds, they're like strikes or dungeons from other games as well. But are you expecting something bigger than that? I know they have something called a cataclysm coming out eventually. Whatever the cataclysm is, not too sure yet. Again, it hasn't released just yet, but are you expecting like a raid type of in game, or are you expecting something a little different?
So a big raid is very possible. However, there is one glaring thing about this game that's gonna make that tough, which is the healing factor. Let's call it that. So in a lot of other games in Destiny and
You're
Division,
right.
there are ways to heal people. There are ways, if you're in a sticky situation, you can heal out of it and get there. This game is all about combat and being DPS cannons. So what happens when you come into a situation to where you have 4 or 5 storms on your team and only one Colossus, and they're all getting one shot by whatever, and it's kind of like this glaring thing of like, how do you create a raid space or whatever to where like, I guess you go through and it's a challenge. Like, it's really, really tough, and I don't know how that works, because this game is so much different than others, where Destiny, you have Titans who could put up bubble shields and things of that nature, and Warlocks who could put down wells and stuff. And there's just no format of defense, really. I mean, I guess the Ranger has the one sphere that they could put out, but it's not it's offense, a lot of offense. So I'm unsure of how you do a raid with these. I mean, maybe if they want to go puzzle heavy and it's a lot of puzzles, I guess that's one way to do it. So I mean, I do see a raid or something like that happening, but I think it's going to be very, very tough given the way that the javelins work and how none of them really are about healing and all of them are about fighting in a different way.
Yeah, I don't see a raid activity. I see something a little different. Maybe something where they're like, hey, we've opened up the world for 16 people. Maybe this is just kind of a speculation at this point, but where they kind of open the world and be like, hey, this is big boss here. How about 8 people kind of can queue up at some point in time and they can kind of go all fight it and do whatever ends up happening. Um,
Oh, okay,
well,
like a world event. You're saying like a
yeah,
world
yeah,
event will pop and okay, I got you. World event happens, a big boss spawns, and several people can go in and fight it.
yeah, something like that. I mean, they're very heavy on the fact that this world is always changing and always evolving. So, like I said, we've only been in the game for the first 10 hours. Of course, this is the very first week. So we probably won't see anything until March, maybe early March, late March. So we don't know exactly just yet. Everybody's still leveling up. Everybody's still working on in-game weapons and materials and everything of that nature. So maybe eventually we will see something. And of course, I think probably in a month after the game's been out for a while and we've seen all these things, we'll probably end up coming back and talking about it. Good thing about this game, DLC is free. Yeah, DLC is free. So if you're still playing the game, all you had to do is pay $60. Of course, there's microtransactions in the game. Probably won't talk about that. They look purely cosmetic, so we won't get into that. No need for that one. So
Save your coins. Don't use your coins on those cosmetics.
yeah, save your
Save them
coins
for those masterwork cores.
Yeah, there looks to be something that might be behind a paywall. Hopefully, EA. We're just gonna flash EA here. Doesn't touch anything and doesn't do what Activision does. Hopefully we do not see that. And hopefully EA learned their lesson from Star Wars. But I think that's kind of it. Keith, would you recommend the game? Would you sell certain people to go out and get it, or would you tell people to just kind of hold off for a little bit?
So if you're a person who kind of like simplicity, you're not really into kind of specking a character per se, I would say don't get it. Don't get it if you're not really into kind of creating a character to fight and be the way that you want them to be. Now, however, on the flip side, if you're really into that, into character customization, I mean from top to bottom, because you can customize your javelin literally from top to bottom. It not only in combat, but even in appearance. There is so much stuff in terms of making your javelin your own. I think that's where this game really shines. So if you really want to create a character, I say go for it. Like Terry said, the DLC is all free, and those are really, really two great points about this. And also, the last point I want to make is that they do have a system to where if you play with friends, you get in-game currency at a precipitous rate. So the more you play with friends, the more currency you get, in-game currency that buys these cosmetic things, which is absolutely amazing. It encourages people to play and link up with one another. And even if you don't play and link up with one another, what you do solo actually still contributes to your friends. And I think this is like a really, really great system that encourages people not only to play with one another, but just to play the game to help their friends out, get some coin, and buy those in-game cosmetics that they really were looking at.
Yeah. So I agree. If you're into the whole min maxing of a character, it's probably worth your time. Again, we don't know what the end game is going to look like. We don't know exactly what exactly we're chasing for. Whether it's a stronghold, whether it's some kind of big world event, we won't know until March. So like I said, we'll probably end up coming back again after the game has been out for about a month or so. We see exactly what's going on and probably come back and talk about it a little bit more. So yeah, if you're into the game as far as min maxing, I think it's a really good game to go after. If you're not really caring about gunplay, go for it. If you're looking for something a little different, itching that little looter shooter kind of game, go for it. But again, Division 2 comes out in a month, so we'll see how long this game holds until Division 2 when they have more competition. So that's about it for the game, for us at least. Like I said, we'll be back a month, talk about it more. Keith, thank you for joining me. Got anything to say to people before we dip? You know, little something.
Last thing I want to say.
Oh, you got one more? Oh.
There's one point in this game that a story is told. And I so wish that the story of Twilight Gap and Destiny was told like the story is told in Anthem. I do not want to get into it because it's a really great telling
Spoiler
of us
warning.
like they I'm not gonna tell it.
Nope,
But a
don't do it.
character begins to tell a story and he's like, yo, this is how these events transpired. And as he begins to tell the story and they start to lay it all out, and I was like, yo, if Destiny told the story of Twilight Gap like this, oh my god, like it could have been a great moment. But that's all I'm gonna say. I think that the story delivery is there. So just that moment was a really good moment for Anthem, I think, in terms of delivering a story. And
Oh,
that's not even the whole story. It was just literally events of the past that they were kind of catching you up to speed on.
well, you heard it here first. The game has a story. I don't know it, but it
Whether
must
it's
have
good or
something.
bad, I don't know, but they're delivering it.
All right.
That's the important part.
Well, that's kind of it for us. I thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all as well. Yeah. So if you want the game, I say go get it. If you like min-maxing, then it's perfect for you. But we're gonna go ahead and cut it here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, know when any of our videos go live. Greatly appreciate it.
At 100, will you be the 100th person?
Exactly.
Will you?
We are 16
special
away.
when that 100th one happens.
16.
Come on now, hit that button. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. This is gonna do it for us. We'll catch y'all on the next video. Peace.
Peace.